Hey y'all, welcome back to New Slang. I'm your host, Thomas Mooney. Today's guest is up-and-comer Erik Shicotte. Erik released Misery Pacific, his solo debut EP, back in mid-July. I'm telling y'all, hop on this train right now while you have the chance. There's a lot of promise in Erik's writing and that booming baritone voice of his. Right out the gate, you're going to be grabbed by those rich vocals, but nestled within those songs are these really great storytellers. I think a natural comparison that is super easy to jump to for Erik's Misery Pacific is Colter Wall's Imaginary Appalachia. Now, we've all seen a lot of growth and evolution from Colter since then. He's not really the same guy as he was back when that came out, which, in my estimation, is always a good thing. That's also not to say that Imaginary Appalachia isn't a great debut. Those aren't mutually exclusive statements. Which leads me back to Erik and Misery Pacific. This is as strong a collection of songs you'll find for a debut. Now, he's not searching for Appalachia like Colter was, but what he's discovering are these endless lines of railroad and highway that stretch across America. That's the land that these songs inhabit. These songs, they're about those folks who find work and even comfort in those spaces. This is very much an EP of movement. It's transient and shuffling, it's rollicking one moment and grieving the next. And really, it's one of the best surprises of the year, and I can't wait to see what's down the line for Erik as well. Today's presenting partner is our pals over at Desert Door Texas Soto. If you've been listening to New Slang for really any amount of time, you'll know that Desert Door is one of my all-time favorite premium, high-quality spirits. If you haven't or aren't sure what exactly a Soto is, I'm going to let you in on a little secret that's going to up the game on your liquor cabinet. For starters, the best reference point that I can point you to is to think about a tequila or a mezcal. Do you feel that Western desert, that Texas ruggedness? Okay, Soto is like that, but a little bit more refined, smooth, and fragrant. It intrigues the palate and offers these hints of vanilla and citrus. There's an earthiness that often sends me right back to my Trans-Pecos and Far West Texas roots. There's plenty to love about Desert Door. For me, it all starts right there. A close second is just how versatile Desert Door really is. You can go full highbrow and experiment with concocting a variety of cocktails that call for muddling fresh fruit, sprigs of thyme, sticks of cinnamon. It's perfect for that world. If you're a little bit more down home, if you've just rolled up the sleeves of your denim Wrangler button-up, it's perfect for that as well. If you're just desiring something that's short and sweet, it hits the mark every time. Desert Door is genuine and authentically West Texan. It's inherently West Texan. They harvest Soto plants out in the wild and are knowledgeable conservationists at heart. That's obviously something incredibly important to me. They shine a light on what makes West Texas special and unique and worth preserving and keeping it safe from exploitation. Right now, you can find Desert Door all over Texas, Colorado, Tennessee, and there's budding numbers in places like New Mexico, Arizona, California, and Georgia. Best thing you can do is to check out desertdoor.com to find where Desert Door is locally. Again, that's desertdoor.com. If this is your first time listening to New Slang, I highly encourage you to hit that subscribe button. New Slang is available virtually anywhere that you can listen to podcasts. If you're over on Apple Podcasts, leave one of those 5-star reviews. They do go a long way. And of course, New Slang is a grassroots endeavor, so tell a pal, tell a friend, a family member, whatever the case. Go follow us over on Facebook and Twitter. A retweet and share, they too go a long way. You can go over and check out the New Slang merch store while you're at it. That's over at newslangpodcast.bigcartel.com. Over there, there's t-shirts, shot glasses, stickers, koozies, coffee mugs, and much more. Check out the Patreon while you're at it as well. And of course, all these links, they will be in the show notes. Also, want to make a quick note about this episode. So Erik, he drove outside town to do this, and he was sitting in his vehicle on a rural road out next to a cornfield. And of course, a county sheriff pulls up behind him and interrupts our interview about 30 minutes in. Yeah, there's a first time for everything, right? But I mention it here just because we wind up referencing it a few times in the episode, and I want y'all to have that context. Anyway, let's get on to the episode. Here is Erik Shicotte. Yeah, I guess like obviously the most natural place to start off is I guess it's about 3 weeks ago now. You released Misery Pacific, and yeah, it was a great little, at least for me, a great introduction to what you're doing, and I just find it a really, really fascinating EP as far as the sound and style, and kind of like that rambling man, kind of the there's a lot of traveling stories, and of course, like that kind of really ties into you as a traveler yourself. Take me back to, I guess, like, getting this collection of songs together and finding that rambling man, that traveling narrative, and kind of, I don't know, forming and shaping the EP as far as that being kind of one of the main focuses.
Well, I guess that's more so inadvertent than anything else. That's just what my songs are about at this point in my life, or the experiences and other things I've gained along the way, because I've been moving and shaking for a bit of my 20s here, and we didn't really design it to have so much movement and motion in it, but it's kind of how she went. Because I had made a previous small effort at one point. Me and my buddy did some recording in his living room, and two of the songs on this EP are actually from the first attempt, and that would have been Kansas City and Flint, respectively. And my manager at her urging, and my guy that produced the record at his urging too, he thought we should redo those, and that became the concept behind making this, and then picking other songs from, I guess, if you want to call it a catalog, you can. And then we threw them all together, and yeah, the whole thing kind of just keeps moving throughout the all 6 tracks. There's I think only one of them was written at quote unquote home. And that would be the oldest one, which was Flint, and that was the only one that I actually wrote in Wisconsin when I was staying closer to the bone at the time. But the rest were all finished in hotel rooms across God knows where, and it's just been a very prominent theme in my life lately, is the fact that my odometer just keeps ticking, and all of it's on my own wheels too. I don't go on sardine cans in the sky very often, so
No, I hear you.
My domicile seems to be the highway as of late.
Yeah, I've always been a little bit more comfortable driving anywhere than flying, and I don't know. I feel like obviously you can you get the lay of the land a whole lot easier that way, even though it may take a little bit more time. And there's something about just I've talked about this with a lot of people, as far as like there's something obviously super American about just going on the open highway and finding something.
You're definitely onto something there. I mean, this place is vast. It's huge. And you can just see so many things running across it. You see the back door of America, if you seek it out, I suppose. But I don't know. I've always been a huge fan of truck stop diners and the little things you find along the way, the little bits of neon you catch as you pass through a town. You're like, I better stop and see what's going on in here.
Yeah, I always love like the truck stop scenes. Like my dad drove a whole lot because he had a trailer company, and most of the time I was sitting front seat shotgun with him, and obviously we'd stop in a lot of truck stops and diners and cafes like that. And I feel like you just I don't know, like at the time I always felt that was boring, but now looking back, I kind of have like that nostalgic feeling for it all. And
It is a romanticized thing.
yeah,
There's romance to traveling this country. And I mean, I'm sure there is plenty to other places too, but I've never left the contiguous United States here, and I've based most of who I am off of that thus far. And it is a romantic thing. The concept of the Great American Highway, the Great American West or Southeast or wherever.
yeah. Well, and you mentioned, like finishing a bunch of these in motel rooms. I find that real fascinating right there because, granted, I guess like if you're constantly on the road with work, that's kind of like the one spot you can find a little bit of time to finish a song. I know a lot of artists though, they have a lot of time. I guess there's the difficulty of writing on the road, where maybe they collect those songs or those stories out on the road, but then they finish them or start writing those songs at home. You mentioned finishing them and starting them out on the road in these hotel room or whatever the case, or even probably while you're working, just kind of thinking about stuff. Do you find that a little bit, just is that come natural for you, or do you feel like you had to, work at working on songs on the road, or what do you think the case is for you?
I guess for me at this point, especially, I haven't had to think of it very professionally yet, and hopefully I will. But these songs I wrote because I had to. They were how was getting in touch with what I was feeling at the time, with wherever I was, whatever I was going through or experiencing or laughing or crying about. And they've all come pretty organically thus far. I am intending on kind of sitting down and getting more in touch with my creative process and figuring out exactly what that means to me. Because to date, I write songs because that's what I had to do with whatever I was thinking about at the time. I haven't really set out with the goal of I'm gonna turn this into a song.
Mm-hmm.
I'll often have either lyrics, like you mentioned, like on the job site. A lot of days, you're done bullshitting with the other guys, and you're sitting there thinking lyrics swimming around in the head, and I'm thinking about, what kind of melody can I put that to? Because a hook or whatever you want to call it will hit me. Something will just latch on in my brain, and I'm like, this has to come out of me soon. So I'd sit down at the end of the day in a hotel room, or when I had time off, I'd one thing I do, especially when I'm, I guess, quote unquote, stationed somewhere. If I'm stuck out on a job somewhere and we catch like a week off and the rest of the boys go home, but I'm a little too far away to do it myself. I'd just drive out, find railroads to take pictures of, train tracks to sit next to, and there's more than a couple of songs I've written without a bed.
Yeah, there's definitely obviously the title track points to trains, and I mean trains in general. I mean, like that's kind of the precursor to the highway. I can't remember who the writer was. I was listening to a podcast about it, but the guy who wrote The Perfect Storm, I believe, he just recently put out a book traveling on railroads and just like walking through this past year, which seems like if there was ever a time to get out and just walk places, it was during the pandemic, I guess. And I find like there's maybe a correlation between the stuff that you're doing and what that book is. I've not checked it out yet. I've only listened to a podcast, like I said, but I can't think of even what the book is. This is horrible podcasting, but I don't know. Like it feels like there's this weird connection as far as you guys probably tapping into the same aspects of America. You mentioned that back door. That's an interesting take on it. The back door of America, or like the backyard, maybe something.
Mm-hmm. The back porch, the back whatever. It's the stuff you wouldn't see otherwise if you didn't take the time to slow down and glance out your peripherals every now and again.
Yeah.
But there is an energy like that to the railroad. There's it's I'm trying to think of a good PC-ish way to put it, but they've kind of, in recent years, they've kind of had their balls chopped off to a degree. There's a lot less cowboyism to it. There's a lot less romance to the rails as the big ones become, Wall Street centric. They care less about the employees and the customers and way more about what the shareholders think. But there is still something to it, and I'd be very curious to check out that book you was mentioning, because there still exists this aura to traveling, especially here. I think it is very much an American thing. There's no freight system like ours anywhere else in the world. The infrastructure alone, I mean, that used to be an even bigger spider web crisscrossing states and mountain ranges and valleys and rivers and the plains and whatever else. But I'm definitely trying to learn it better and try and infiltrate what remains of the romantic railroad of America. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just a recurring theme, and I'm worried that the sucker's gonna die before
Well, yeah,
before anyone saves it.
that points to a couple of things I was actually going to bring up there, because so I guess like maybe the comparison for other places, other continents is like you'll hear people talk about in their 20s going to backpack across Europe or something. To me, that's almost like a upper middle class, or like you got to be kind of rich to do it. If you're just traveling America, I mean, it's very, very blue collar. I feel like anyone can really do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe there's some of that tie, which you're really pointing to in a lot of this, even what you just mentioned, as far as it being kind of, you're a blue collar guy, work with your hands. But you're also, you're talking right now about kind of like the dying of that romanticism, right? The dying of the American West in a lot of ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess like a lot of these songs right here, you do talk about the traveling and the romanticism, and I guess like what I wonder is, do you feel like we're always constantly thinking of like this is the last generation that's going to be on the frontier, or do you think like that there will always kind of be room for songs like this and talking about essentially the frontier or the American West, even if it's hopping trains in the 1920s or hopping trains in the 1820s, gunslinger style, or do you think there's still something like that in modern America?
There's always going to be a frontier. It doesn't matter how far gone we are. There's always going to be something more to explore, but more so, the parts that I've come to know and love, and the things that I've come to somewhat understand, I'm seeing those get a little left by the wayside, more so than, there's it's impossible to ever cover all of the bases and have everything documented, but I just fear that, I mean, it extends further than the romanticism of travel alone. Like growing up here in the upper Middle West, and like Sunday luncheon culture, church basement, the I mean, it's had its inherent problems with, you know, certain groups getting too excited about some things. Oh boy, truck going by. I apologize. But those little pieces of Americana that I've grown up with, that I've become attached to. I mean, I guess it's very personal for me, is watching all that, not hearing it in music. I'm not hearing about the Harper Valley PTA anymore. You don't hear that shit.
Right.
So I think those are, it extends more than that, but there will always be a frontier for someone to explore. And, I'm just trying trying to envision what mine is before I completely get distracted by all of the technology and all the connectivity that we have. Because I think it is important to recognize how big this sucker is and all the things you can find in between.
This episode is in part brought to you by Charlie Stout Photography. Charlie Stout has long been a great buddy of mine, and for as long as I've known him, he's always had a good eye for ideas, for lines in a song, and notably, an eye for what makes a great photograph. Yes, we're gonna roll with that tried and true cliche about a great photographer having a good eye. But it's cliche for a reason. More often than not, it means it's true. Right now, I want y'all to head on over to charliestout.com to get an idea of what I'm talking about. While you're at it, go give him a follow on Instagram and Twitter at Charlie Stout. Right now, he has about 50 photographs for sale on charliestout.com, with a vast majority of those being landscapes and sky shots of West Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. The American Southwest, if you will. A lot of cacti and clouds, windmills and open roads, sunsets and stardust. He captures a lot of what I love about West Texas and these dry, arid climates. That's mainly that vast emptiness that can really make you feel small, the depth and the weight and the intensity, it's all in there. Right now, he's doing a special on his prints. Each week, he releases a new photo, and for 1 week only, that photograph is at a special introductory rate. For just $25, you'll get an 8.5 by 11. That's just about half off the regular price. For $75, you can get a 13 by 19, and for $110, you can get a 17 by 22. After the week, they go back to regular prices, which are still an absolute steal if you ask me. Also, just a pro tip, keep a watchful eye out on his Twitter. He's consistently posting one-offs, errors, and randoms on there that are for sale that are in the flash sale variety. Again, that is at Charlie Stout for Twitter and Instagram. Head on over to charliestout.com, grab a signed print, buy a record, get yourself some nature sounds and some nature shots. All right, let's get back to the episode. For starters, you're like not even like one, I guess, connection away from like blue collar work. You are still the connection to that way of life. And just to inform, listeners, you're an iron worker. So one of those things that me and my buddy often talk about is how often it's these, it's these blue collar guys who have the stories. It's these lower middle class or lower class people who have the stories that either they're the cowboys or the coal miners or whatever the case. They're the ones who have the stories, but maybe not the ability to translate that into art, if you will, regardless of art. I guess you're probably heard plenty of these stories, even just working and hearing stories from coworkers and stuff, but maybe they wouldn't be able to translate that into a song. Do you kind of realize that? And have you kind of realized that and understood that like maybe that's something that you need to do, or has it maybe been a little bit more organic than that, if you will?
It's mostly been organic thus far, but as I get deeper into this, I'm realizing, I've met so many people with so many stories about who didn't show up to work or who fucked who, and what idiot dropped this on the job, or all of these tales from, there's so many that are worth telling, and I'm kind of realizing, maybe it's might be part of the yoke I want to carry, that I can translate that. Because Niners off the EP, even, that's a song about the some of the erratic behaviors of my coworkers on a job site in Wyoming. We spent the winter of 19 into 20 there building a tower. And, I'm already realizing that I got to translate some of this into music. And I'd say it has been pretty organic, and I'm not going to force anything too hard right now because I already got 20, 30 other tunes that are packed and shipped and ready to be played.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not terribly concerned about forcing anything. When they come, they're going to come, and I look forward to engaging that process when it does, and calling up my buddies that I used to work with or whoever I heard the story from, and being like, "Hey, can you tell me a little more about this time? What the hell happened in Hillsboro, Oregon?"
Yeah, that makes you almost like part journalist right there too.
Well, I wouldn't put that kind of pressure on me, but
well, yeah. Yeah.
I just
Well,
want to recount it as accurately as I can with as, I enjoy creative license, but I also want to make sure it's telling something that's true. That's a huge thing to me. I don't imagination within interpretation, I suppose, is big for me.
mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. By the way, I have looked up that book. It's Freedom by Sebastian Junger. And
Okay.
it's I'll text you the name after this. But yeah, it's him and like this a few other folks walking like 400 miles down railroad tracks. So and it's kind of like these. I think it's kind of a short read apparently. I think just a little over 100 pages or something. So, anyways, yeah, everyone go check that out. I need to check it out myself, but
sounds like a good thing to throw on a coffee table or something.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of feeling. But going back to what you're saying there, I guess like you're still in this moment of, of the young songwriter who's can, they're not scared necessarily of running out of stories. Have you, I guess, have you been able to apply any of the structure as far as like, trying to write, a certain time of day or anything like that every day or a couple times a week, or is it still in that, like, just capturing the magic and then maybe like going back and editing later?
It's way more the latter at this point, but I have been thinking an awful lot about, sitting down and engaging with it. But I mean, especially I'm off work right now because I got a busted wing, which is terrible timing. Some of the worst timing ever, but it's given me a lot of time to stew on some of the thoughts in my head. Obviously, I can't translate them into melody yet, but I've been thinking about how much is up there, and I should really start to try and put a little pen to paper on some of it, and I'll figure out the stuff I do with my hands at a later date.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it will be important for me going forward to squeak some more of that energy out while it's fresh. And I don't think that would do anything to really discount the organic quality of it, if you want to call it that. But I don't know. I'm still figuring out my process. This is all very new to me. I mean, I played in cover bands for a long time, and I've always been one to try and write a song. But this is the first time it's actually turning into something bigger than I know how to handle.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting right there. Was it, I guess with any kind of artist, you're always kind of thinking of, putting your own songs out at some point, or doing that. Was there anyone that like you're playing and people were trying to tell you, hey, like these need to be recorded, or was there anyone that's kind of like in your corner, just kind of with that stick prodding you, trying to tell you, hey, this is actually special, this is actually necessary, or anything like that, or what's kind of been the case for you?
There has definitely been a lot of pushing and prodding from people that are in my corner, I guess. You play your stuff for your other friends that play and sing, and I guess I got to a point where I'd heard, "Oh, that's great, man," enough that I kind of forgot that, maybe I should do something about it. But I got to give a lot of credit to my manager, Britt, and guy that produced the record, Ash Sider, for really pushing me do this, and putting their weight behind it and telling me, yeah, we're doing this, dude. Get your ass in the studio. We're making a record. We're gonna record these songs, and it was really them that pushed me to stick in it. And, don't let up on the throttle with this. And I'm very, very glad they did. And they've been a world of help. Ash has experience. He's worked with Casey and Clayton and Coulter Wall and other artists of that nature. And that's how we even ended up on a label. We were going to self-release, and his buddy Adam works, I think he's like second at Black Country Rock Shooter's label, and they were about to hit the button for Distro Kid, and he's like, wait one goddamn second. Let me send my buddy a message real quick here. And next thing I know, I'm hauling ass across Death Valley on my way to California to make a music video. Just weird, wild stuff I never in a million years thought would be happening to me, and the tunes I write, because it's not to say it isn't for an audience, but up to this point, I write for me. I write because I hear something or see something or feel something or believe in something.
Mm-hmm.
And to see that translate into people really rooting for that is fucking weird, man. It's fucking weird. It's
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's a good kind of weird. It's just I don't know. That scene in Talladega Nights where his Ricky Bobby's like, I'm not sure what to do with my hands. That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Just like, oh shit, okay, this is real. Holy Christ, what am I supposed to do now? But yeah, they pushed me, and I've got so many other great friends and family that were like, yeah, dude, do this, make something out of it. And I guess I've always had this voice, and I only used to use it for shocking cashiers before I could grow a beard when I was trying to buy cigarettes, because it doesn't really fit me. It doesn't make sense coming out of me, but I got this baritone. I might as well do something with it.
This episode of New Slang is brought to you by the Blue Light Live here in Lubbock, Texas. Blue Light has long been the heart and soul of the Lubbock singer-songwriter scene and has been a home away from home for some of Texas, Americana, country, and rock and roll's finest over the years. Talk with 99.9% of the songwriters who have come out of Lubbock and the Panhandle at large over the past 20 years, and they'll point to just how integral and necessary the Blue Light is. With live music and touring slowly but surely coming back, spots like the Blue Light are getting back to their usual ways as well. That means music every night of the week. Do you want to see that schedule? Well, I've got a few options for you. 1, go to their socials and give them a follow. That is at Blue Light Live on Twitter, at The Blue Light Live on Instagram, and of course by just searching The Blue Light Live on Facebook. They're consistently posting that week's lineup of shows, as well as those heavy hitters that ought to be on your calendar that are coming up on the horizon. 2, check out BlueLightLubbock.com as well. There they have the full schedule, the cover charges, time, any of those specials that may be happening. While there, go check out their merch page. They have a wide range of hats, koozies, hoodies, sweaters, beanies, jackets, and so much more. You can, of course, get all of your merch needs when you go see your favorite band take the stage at Blue Light. Just ask the bartender and they will get you all set. Speaking of which, that's another great way of seeing who's playing there. Just go to the Blue Light. It's at 1806 Buddy Holly Avenue here in Lubbock, Texas. And of course, again, that is BlueLightLubbock.com. I'll throw a link into the show notes too. Maybe I'll see you there. Okay, let's get back to the show. Yeah.
Something like that, man.
It's what you're kind of talking about in a way is like that imposter syndrome where you're kind of like, is everyone playing a joke on me? This is weird. Everyone interested in what the hell I'm doing, and it's kind of, it's foreign. It's a foreign feeling.
It's interesting, but I'm learning to do a little better with it, and I'm excited to see what I can do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I heard it for years when I was doing cover bands, and everyone always thought I could sing pretty nicely, and I guess I'm starting to believe them to a degree. And I'm just excited to see what I can do with this, because I'm already thinking of all the covers I want to try and bring out. If God forbid we get my hand healed up and I get out on stage, because I like playing my songs. I write them for me, but I'm very excited to explore everyone else's shit to a degree. And I've always enjoyed going through covers of songs I love. Like my liked songs on Spotify is a mess. There's like a chunk where it's 10 different versions of Call Me the Breeze in a row. And sometimes I'll run into that. And like I always like to see what kind of spin I can put it. I got a nasty habit of turning double 4-time songs into waltzes, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm just excited now that I'm kind of entering this different sphere and this transition into maybe doing this professionally, to see what I can do with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's you mentioned Ash. I've only ran into him one time, and it was here in Lubbock. He was with Coulter at the time, and so I ran into him there. And when I saw his name on the old liner notes, the credits here, I was like, oh, I know that guy. But that's something interesting as far as this EP goes. Is you guys had to do it so remotely,
Mm-hmm.
which it's probably not the most the greatest of first time experiences cutting an EP. But what was that like as far as kind of being in a different place and time than the band, and I guess like working on that communication to know that you guys were on the same page.
I mean, it wasn't my first time in a studio. Like, I'd gone in with one of the bands I played with years ago when we attempted to write songs, and then realized all of us had very different styles. But this was different because, yeah, there was no in-person cohesion with the session players. And I mean, we had some great players on this. Everyone did a fantastic job, and Aaron Goodrich did the I mean, I'm pretty a-religious, but he did God's work with tying this thing together. He produced the band, and I'm fresh. I'm green. I'm new meat. So I don't have the vocabulary to really tell
Mm-hmm.
what I'm trying to hear, because I was on a job site in Oregon at the time when we started this process. We started with the 5th track on the EP, Silver, because originally we were thinking that might be a single, or we didn't know exactly how we were going to play it, but that's the one we started with. And I was way out west, and they're in Nashville. And I remember Aaron gives me a call one morning. I mean, it was probably afternoon for him, but I'm on the job site, and I see the number, and I'm like, oh shit. So I tell the foreman, hey, I got to go take this call, man. Rolls his eyes at me, and I spend 45 minutes just bumbling over my own words, trying to tell him what I'm hearing and what I want to hear out of it, and how I'd like it to sound. But he did a just fantastic job of taking that and communicating with the musicians, because it's way different when you can sit there and non-verbally communicate with another musician.
Mm-hmm.
When you can get in a groove or a rhythm with them, and there's something magical to that. But especially given that we could not do that, at least with me, because what I heard when I started getting the tracks back from them was that they had been able to do that together and also give me plenty of room for my acoustic and my voice, because none of these were written with the intention of being anything more than just me and a guitar. So creating that cohesive sound was, I don't know how he did it, but I'm very much looking forward to buying him a beer and sitting down and thanking him personally for taking my bullshit words that I didn't even know how to say and turning them into something that that is beyond my wildest dreams, because just the way they did it, and the process was chaotic and a little stressful and slow, because files going back and forth and back and forth, and can you bring this up a little? Oh, can you bring that down a little? Do we have any alternatives for this part of this guitar lead and all of that? It took a while, because it has to. Stuff you could have probably accomplished in 3 days of sitting in studio for mixing it down took months, but that's just the way it was. And all things considered, given the fact that I wasn't there and we couldn't just communicate verbally in person, I'm beyond impressed. And it is kind of cool with the remote shit. You can work with anyone, anywhere, at pretty much any time, as long as you are willing to find ways to make that communication still happen.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned that vocabulary, being kind of green on that side. That's always fascinating to me, is relaying what you want to the people who are playing it. And as you kind of said right there, the struggle of recording that way is, you're turning 5-minute conversations into day-long conversations. But one of the things that I think is really beautiful about this is, as you said right there, like they left you space, because it feels very seamless, and you have like the room to really relay these songs, as far as like capturing an emotional aspect of them. And I think specifically like a song like Kansas City, like that's very much you can feel the weight of that song in your voice. Where
You mean
were
my
you?
crybaby song, my self-pity song?
Hey, everyone needs a self-pity song. As I tweeted out today, this was not even in relation to you, but this may fall under Outlaw country. So, where were you when you first where's that song originate from?
Kansas City?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
That comes from Kansas City. That was post hesitate to say post-mortem, but my heart was flailing and flopping on the ground at that point in time. I'd had a pretty rough heartbreak at the time, and I was headed west. And my lead guitar player in one of the band I used to play with the most, he's in Kansas City now, and I think he's about to be in residency. I mean, I've seen this kid drunk as shit on stage, and the fact that he's about to be a doctor is just incredible, first off. But every time I go out that way, I make a point of stopping in and seeing him and his lady, because they're fantastic people. And so I was running west, and I stopped in there as I was going through running through my own tears and driving through. I remember it was winter, I want to say January of 2019. And, I was going to go on a little pilgrimage. I was looking at railroads the whole way out, but I was aiming for Bakersfield just to, see where that shit came from. And I stopped in and I started writing that song he's got this nice ass spot in the high rise, and you can oversee well, I don't think it's downtown. I don't remember the exact neighborhood, but you can oversee Union, like the big train depot there, and all these, like the big Western Auto sign is standing tall. And that song originated from just sitting there and feeling the way I was feeling, and smoking a cigarette on his balcony high above I-70, just screaming underneath us. And or maybe it was I-35, I don't remember, but it's one of the spots where the interstate goes through a trench, and you're just hearing the whirring of the tires of all the semis coming through and all that shit. And yeah, that was when I really started to get in touch with the holistic powers of the highway, I suppose you could say it. And yeah, that one carries a lot of emotion for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, man. I don't forget the original question.
Just kind of where that was coming from, as far as the You got it. You nailed the question.
Well,
The origin of it.
there were a couple of songs that came out of that venture because I took a month off of work and just was like, I need to go. I need to go. I need to go.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been kind of stuck working in Wisconsin for about a year. I was doing other types of construction, and some old shit was coming up to haunt me. And I'm like, man, I need to get moving. It's been too long. So I went all the way out to California and spent some time in Texas and met some folks in Austin and did the obligatory fucking trip to Lukenbach, which did not end well for me. But I guess that's where I learned, like, according to them, I look like David Koresh, which is not something I'm very proud of.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, nobody talked to me for 3 whole hours, and then finally, some big old trucker was like, "Hey, you look like David Koresh," and then I was finally, started to feel more at home, and that's how it went for me from there. But yeah, man, there's a couple other tunes that hopefully I'm gonna get to record that came from that bout of wrestling myself across America. But I don't know, man.
Yeah,
Goofy shit.
the Talking David Koresh blues, something like that. Yeah, that's a great. I've always, obviously being a Texan, I've always felt we're pretty obviously proud, but a welcoming state, and that just sounds like the worst like introduction to Texas
Well, I had
possible.
already had enough of an intro over in Austin. I got pretty used to going. I mean, that's where I found my pretty much favorite gas station is Rudy's, because getting them ribs and getting all that meat just at a place where I could fill up was pretty all right by me. Oh boy, hold on. Columbia County Sheriff's stopping to talk to me because I'm parked out in the middle of the fucking cornfields here.
I want to break one more time to talk about our pals over at Desert Door and offer up a quick Thomas Mooney's cocktail minute. As I've said probably 100 times by now, by no means am I a seasoned mixologist or bartender, but these have been some of my Desert Door go-tos. For starters, let's just go with the tried and true ranch water. Pop the top off the Topo Chico, take a good swig, now pour in some Desert Door, and top it off by throwing in a few lime wedges. Never fails. This one, it's so simple it probably doesn't even count, but again, pretty foolproof. Do the exact same thing, but get you a Mexican Coca-Cola. I guess you can go with a regular one, but you're really cutting yourself short if you don't opt for the Mexican import variety. All right, here's the change-up you've been waiting for. Desert Door Sangria. This one is prime for when you have company coming over and you aren't wanting to just be over there making 6 different drinks at a time. What you'll need is some Desert Door, obviously, a bottle of red wine, honey, boiling water, apple cider vinegar, some cinnamon sticks, a couple of apples, and some thyme sprigs. I know, that may sound intimidating, but trust me, it's worth the prep, and honestly, it's pretty easy. For starters, get you a punch bowl, add that honey, those cinnamon sticks, and the boiling water together. Now you're going to want to stir that all up and let it cool down for about an hour or so. Remember, patience is a virtue. Once that's done, add some Desert Door and stir vigorously. Now add the wine, the cider, and the vinegar, and continue stirring until it's equally mixed. Now slice those apples up and toss them in. Put in those thyme sprigs as well. Now you can pour that over some ice and you have a mighty fine sangria. Chef's kiss. Anyway, those have been some of my favorite go-tos as of late. And remember, Desert Door is as versatile as vodka and more refined, smooth, complex, and intriguing than tequila. It's rich and balanced, and whether you decide to keep it simple or want to experiment, Desert Door is that perfect Texas spirit. There's plenty more recipes over at desertdoor.com as well. Check out the show notes for a link. All right, let's get back to the episode.
He's leaving.
Man.
Yeah, well, hopefully that's a fun little part to include. Yes. I apologize,
Hey,
man.
no, it's no worries.
It is not the first time or the last time I will be, you know, obfuscated for sitting in the cornfield. I do this a lot when I'm looking for railroads to take pictures of too. You know, you're sitting out somewhere waiting, just waiting and watching and nervously watching the sky, hoping your train's going to come before these clouds roll in or the sun goes down and some county mountie will roll up and have no idea what to make of what you're doing. I'm like, oh, it's just a hobby, man. I like doing this. I'm
Yeah,
not up to no good. I'm just waiting.
I got
Just like Jimmy Rogers waiting for a train, man.
I got a buddy who shoots landscape down here in Texas and Arizona, and I went on a trip on with him one time down to Alpine, and we went through Big Bend and whatnot, and you know he just if he sees something, he just pulls off to the side of the road right there, and
Yeah.
starts snapping away and finding stuff, and we never got caught or never got stopped or anything like that. No, nobody came by, but I imagine he's been
And
rolled
his
up
fair
on.
share of entanglements.
Yeah, just because people are like, well, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I got a fucking camera. This is what I'm doing. This is I don't
Well,
know.
I've had all sorts. I've had like local yokels come yell at me for. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's legal too. Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
protected. If you're on public property, it is well within your rights to take pictures of whatever you want to.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that some people might think that's creepy, but especially for the kind of stuff it sounds like your buddy does and what I do, like, no, we're not here for you asshole. I'm
Mm-hmm.
waiting for a train. I've been here for 2 hours and it's just taking its sweet ass time. The last thing I'm trying to take a picture of is you yelling at me.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm here for. Trust me, I'm not trying to take pictures of your backyard or whatever the hell you think I'm doing. I had cops tell me, that railroads are federal property and that it's illegal to take pictures of them. And, I have a hard time just being like, oh, buddy, you're a Leo. You ought to know this law a little better than you do, pal. But
Right. I think like it's one of those things where technically, sure, yeah, it's the technically, you don't own your mailbox. The the mail service owns your mailbox, so you can't technically like drop something in someone else's mailbox. But we do it anyways, and it's fine. Like you don't have to be an asshole about shit like that. You know, it's one of those things.
and it's like, is it really that slow of a news day?
Yeah, exactly. Um, One of the things that I wanted to bring up that I'm telling you, this is something that I feel like we're very much in the same generation, and that's the you kind of got some of your music inspiration influence at an early age from video game soundtracks, and I swear like this is a very very specific time in a lot of people's lives. The PlayStation to PlayStation 2, any kind of sports games, you mean like the BMX, any of that stuff. Great
Mm-hmm.
soundtracks. Yeah, I want you to expand on because your choice here is a little bit more left field than most people who are picking like Madden or like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
I mean, I do remember Tony Hawk's Pro Skater because I used to play that in my neighbor friend's basement. But personally, like, I was never a huge gamer, but I always loved racing games and flying games and stuff like that. So, like, shit, I can't even remember the name, but yeah, I picked up a PlayStation 2 in like 2008, and up to that point, it had all been PS1 or my buddy's N64. So I was already behind the times, but yeah, the reason I ever fucking learned how to play guitar was PlayStation 1, NASCAR 99, Stevie Ray Vaughan's Scuttlebutt was the main menu music, and that song is just so cool. It's so fast and upbeat, and yeah, that I guess I haven't taken much stock in it myself, but I do have to credit that for inspiring me to start making music. I don't know, man. It's a weird concept to wrap your head around when you haven't really embraced it fully. But yeah, that has been a huge part of our culture.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see how, what year you were born, but I was born 93. So the exposure to that, whether it be my antiquated gaming systems at the time, or, going over to a friend's house and seeing them on their Xbox, and down to the Halo music.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like, that exposed a whole new generation to stuff that was not just pop music.
Yeah. The Halo music specifically, like I'm thinking like, man, that got me probably more into like some post rock stuff and some like
Mm-hmm.
just movie score soundtracks and shit like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just find it interesting because you can point it back to NASCAR '99. A lot of the origin stories, if you will, of what made you want to pick up a guitar are not like these clean stories of, well, my dad took me in to see Johnny Cash when I was a kid and he handed me a guitar. There's no one has those stories. It's always the, well, I was playing NASCAR '99 and I got obsessed with the Stevie Ray Vaughan song on there and I had to learn it. Everyone, that's everyone's story. It may be not, it's not necessarily NASCAR '99, but yeah,
It comes from all over the place, man. Everyone's got their own weird little thing that happened that snowballed into somehow becoming a musician,
mm-hmm,
whether
absolutely.
it's that ass backwards or not. And I will never, I don't think, learn Scuttlebutt because it's just too fast for my feeble fat fingers. But yeah, dude, it got me into Stevie Ray, and in turn got me into the blues, and in turn, I'd taken piano lessons since I was a kid, and I can't read music, and I never could figure out how to do that. But six strings came a whole hell of a lot more naturally to me. And my parents, they saw my interest in it, and they're like, "Here's a guitar." And next thing I know, I'm in a shitty high school band, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing that, and what, hell, 12, 13, 14 years later, here I am sitting in a cornfield getting accosted by the Columbia County Sheriff's District, fucking having an interview about my music and that kind of shit. It's weird, man.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to bring up that right there, as far as you being raised in Wisconsin. A lot of this music, obviously a lot of great American music, um, is from like the Mississippi Delta. The blues music and stuff like that. If you looked back at like what Coulter was doing with Imaginary Appalachia, of course, like he's not from Appalachia. He's from Western Canada or Canada, and yet he's
Canada.
Canada, and he's drawing inspiration from there. I think there's an interesting thing right there that you're doing as well, as far as you're from a very specific place, but you're being inspired or making music that, again, like as I've mentioned, a lot of these are like traveling songs, but I think a lot of that roots is in that Jimmy Rogers kind of stuff, or the Mississippi Delta blues aspect to it.
Well, one wonderful thing about music is it can transcend any border. So,
mm-hmm. Well, as far as that goes, like, do you feel like you liked it a little bit more because it was from a different place, that it wasn't just from that backyard? It was maybe not, something that was ordinary to you because it was just common from around where you were.
no,
Do you
I
think there
wouldn't
was anything
say
like that?
that. I wouldn't say that quite, because especially up here, there's no real specific niche. I mean, you do have your cliques of music up here, but
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of melting pot type stuff that happens up here, and especially playing in the bands I played in when I was younger. Like, you have to be a true to form variety band. You have to have elements of all sorts of different pieces and parts of music, because there's no one specific thing that people are into here. if you're going to play a fireman's picnic or the county fair, you're going to have rock bands. You're going to have country acts. You're going to have shit. We got polka bands here, for God's sake. There's
Yeah.
still a market for that. Like the allure of the kind of music I've come to create and enjoy and find my vein in is not because it's from one place or the other. I do love the history of how it came to be, and I guess you could somewhat call it the etymology of the language used within these tunes, but that's not why. I just have been exposed to so much that I start picking up little bits and pieces from one thing or the other, and I guess I was raised on a lot of classic rock and that, but the two voices that stick out most prominently from my childhood are Johnny Cash and Patsy Cline.
Mm-hmm.
Like them two. I mean, I've had to say it a million times, but I'll say it till the day I die. Like that shit hit me. That was the soundtrack to some of my best memories as a child. Because we got a little place on a lake way up north in the woods of Wisconsin, and that was the soundtrack to my childhood. I mean, because I'd hear Fleetwood Mac, I'd hear Creedence, and I'd hear some of the modern shit. I'd hear some Sheryl Crow and whatever, what have you. But what stuck with me was Johnny Cash and Patsy Cline, and as I got older and started to figure out who they were and what that tradition came from, I started, actually hearing more country, traditional and modern and outlaw and otherwise, whatever you want to call it. As I got older, I started to expand my own horizons in it. And even, my old man started listening to more, I guess you could say, alternative sources. I'd start hearing Ray Wiley Hubbard and Lucinda Williams and Steve Earle and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it really, it was never a place I was after. It was a feeling more so, I guess.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
that music makes you feel some kind of way.
yeah. Well, that's what I was going to ask right there, because of the two of the artists that you mentioned, I think like Johnny Cash and Patsy Cline are obviously incredible artists, and I don't have to go on a soapbox talking about how great they are. But one of the things that maybe is underrated about them is they're very digestible, even on like a very, very surface level, that if you're a kid and you're not really reading into lyrics or story or narrative, you can still tap into the emotional weight of a song that's being delivered by Patsy Cline or Johnny Cash. So
Absolutely.
I'm guessing, like that's something that was very, very easy for you to, dive into at an early age. And then it was, as years go by, the stories start unfolding.
They do. They do. And well, the great thing about that is too, tapping into that the emotion that cats like them could deliver, it even opened the door further to discovering more. Like I got super into Johnny as I got into my mid-teens, and like I bought a box set of the Johnny Cash show, and I'd watch that, and I'd see all these artists, I might have a passing knowledge of, but
Mm-hmm.
and I started to listen. I got way more into Chris Christopherson, and that was my first. I always knew who Waylon was, but I was exposed to. I remember watching that his performance. I think it was of "Only Daddy That'll Walk the Line," and like the bassist fucks up a little or something happens, and you get to watch live how they respond to that, and Waylon's like grinning and laughing, and this is way before long hair Waylon, and it's just it was so cool and such an open fucking door to walk through and start. I mean, that's how I got in touch with Townes Van Zandt and Steve Goodman and all. Just, oh God, I don't know. Music is just incredibly cool, and the way one little thing can open up a whole world of other stuff for you.
Yeah.
And there's so much to learn and be found in this. And that's just one little corner. That was just from the Johnny Cash show. And my weird ass buying it on DVD when I was like 15 years old.
Yeah, well, a lot of that right there. I think there's. I don't know if we're ever going to be able to go back to that era as far as what was happening in country music from. If we're going to go, let's just say loosely 50 to 80, when the people were cutting so many records, and what that meant was people were cutting so many outside songs, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
if you were like me, which it sounds like, and like so many other people, you know, diving into those liner notes was the way to discover more music. The Towns Van
Mm-hmm.
Zants and like all the songwriters, if you will. And that's
Where the
the kind of like, I don't know if we're ever gonna be able to go back to that time, because I think right now, like and granted this is still a worthy thing as far as artists cutting their own records and own songs, but you know, whenever there's like a song that was cut 15, 20 times by 20 different artists, you do have these different takes on them. And then of course, you know, you want to go and find that original take, whoever that original artist was.
Yeah, absolutely. I've really enjoyed, especially over the past couple of years, is, you know, looking at, like you said, liner notes, the credits, who wrote this thing and how did they do it and why, and figuring, and then, you know, exploring them and the other songs and realizing some of your favorite songs were, oh, this person wrote that too. What? How?
Mm-hmm.
How's it? I would have had no idea otherwise. And because a lot of my, you know, exposure to that was never really, you know, my folks, they like music, but they're not particularly musical themselves. So I'd never really know parts of the stories behind songs. It's not something they had been so keenly interested in. It was when they were growing up. So I didn't have like that backlog of knowledge. And you know, it's been a privilege finding that for myself. But you mentioned how, you know, you don't think we can ever go back to that place. I don't think we need to.
Mm-hmm.
That's an important piece of history that we gotta keep track of. But what's exciting now is the availability of information. And you know, a story's always best told by someone that lived it. But the fact that a lot of this has been, you know, recorded for posterity is you know, it takes a little bit of the personality out of it. But the fact that it is available more so to the, dare I say, masses is I think there's some really cool shit that can come out of that. I don't necessarily enjoy the fact that everything is mainlined and you lose a lot of the details along the way, but with the way we've progressed in technology and communications, I suppose it's a little inevitable. And the fact that there are a lot of artists, you know, of our generation or younger that take stock in the tradition of it all is very promising. And, you know, that's something I have to smile about at the end of the day. Rather, you know, it's been a worry too that we're going to lose it, but I see in all of these new artists coming out with this kind of music is that no, it still exists and it is still alive, and God damn it, it's doing pretty well.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Um, you know, what I think right now, as far as there is this you know, this crest of we're riding a crest of new genuine music that's rooted in country and roots and Americana, even though that's a very bland way of putting it. But yeah, there's a lot of really great artists telling their own stories, and that's what I love so much right now is that you're finding a lot of artists proud, or not necessarily even proud, but capturing where they're from. Very very regional, and
Yeah.
that's maybe like the throwback of what it is. Even though, like as you mentioned, the more popular it gets, the more mainline, the more just homogenized into, the most general top layer, if you will.
Yeah.
But there's obviously a lot of great stuff happening. So, yeah.
Well, that's one of my hopes is amongst the amalgam of all this crap, there are pieces of true tradition shining through, which is good, to see. And I know we're going to lose little bits of detail, but that's the endless march of time. And I am hopeful that, parts of it will be preserved. The parts that are worth preserving will be preserved.
Yeah, I think so as well. Erik, it's been really great talking with you this afternoon.
It's been an honor hanging out with you, Thomas. I appreciate you, bearing with me, especially through law enforcement and trucks going by and all this shit. But man, this is cool. I like this. I appreciate it.
All right, that is it for this episode. Be sure to check out Misery Pacific, the new debut EP by Erik Shicotte. Go over and visit our presenting partners over at Desert Door, The Blue Light Live, and Charlie Stout Photography. Go visit our merch store, check out the Patreon, and yeah, I'll see y'all later this week for another episode.